Hello and welcome to this June 15th meeting of Somerville's Urban Forestry Committee. I'm Chris Dwan, the co-chair, and pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, we are holding this meeting remotely. We're making a recording and we will publish that recording along with minutes as soon as is practical. Those will be on the city website. Let us start with introductions. As we always do, we'll go in alphabetical order by first name, because that's how I see people listed. I'll start with Amy Myrtle.
Hello, my name's Amy. I am a community ecologist. I study insects and insect-plant interactions. And I'm very interested in kind of trees as a way to preserve diversity in urban spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. Breck Miller.
Hey everybody, my name is Breck Miller. I'm the city tree warden.
Good to see you. As I said, I'm Chris Dwan. I'm a local activist and one of the co-chairs. Dorothy Supit.
Hi, my name's Dorothy Supit, and I'm I believe, one of the newest members of the committee, and I attended my first tabling this past weekend. Hi, everybody.
Jennifer Clifford.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer, and I'm a resident of Somerville. I have a background in plant pathology. I'm interested in plant health and helping our community here to have the best urban forest we can and to engage the community to attaining those goals. Thank you.
And Leah Grossman.
Hi, Bryn. My name is Leah Grossman. I'm a landscape architect and member of the committee, and I'm excited about meeting the needs of all of our humans and non-humans in the city and balancing trees and understory and native species and focusing on educating and engaging with our neighbors.
Very cool. And then Vanessa Bukili.
Hi everyone, Vanessa Bukili, Senior Urban Forestry and Landscape Planner. Work on lots of different tree needs for the city, hoping to make our urban canopy thrive and focusing a lot on tree planting at the moment.
Great. And nobody else joined us while we were going through. I see we have 3 people in the attendees list. What we do on this committee is go ahead and promote people to panelist status. That means if you choose to, you could turn on your camera and be seen by everybody. You don't have to do that, but it is an option. And I unmute folks so that if you would like to participate in the meeting, you are welcome to. And again, no obligation. You don't have to talk. You don't have to be on camera. It just feels friendly to do that. So if anybody would like to introduce yourself. Actually, as a quick housekeeping, we do have somebody taking minutes. Okay, Jennifer Clifford is doing minutes. Is there other housekeeping we do before we dive into resident concerns? Cool. All right, so the second item on the agenda here is resident concerns. If you are here as a resident and you would like to introduce yourself and share what brings you here and what's on your mind, this is the time. I will just open up the floor. You should be able to unmute yourself. Sorry, Patricia, while I see you trying to speak, but it looks like you're muted.
There's a button. It looks like you're maybe not sure how to do it. At least on my computer, there's some different buttons in the menu for GoToWebinar. There's one that looks like a microphone that's red when you're muted. And if you push that, it'll turn green. Does that work? I can hear you still.
For me, it's on the upper left of the control panel, but I have no idea what it looks like for other people.
You can also, oh, I heard something.
There's a question.
There's also, you can use the chat feature or questions, maybe. I don't know what shows up since I'm an organizer for non-organizers, but there is probably somewhere you can write something in if you'd like.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yay. Hi, I'm Patricia Wild, and I'm a Somerville resident and a great appreciator of all of you and the work that you are doing. And I wanted, when appropriate, if appropriate, to tell you about a project that is beginning. Jennifer knows a little bit about this, I believe. Around greening the green line, which I would love to just tell you about when and if that is going to work.
I'm interested to hear. That sounds, I would say if it fits in a couple of minutes or so, please proceed.
Okay. Well, I am a new member of the Union Square Neighborhood Council. And at their last meeting, I guess I can now say our last meeting, we voted unanimously to begin an incredibly exciting and daunting but awesome project to investigate how to green the Green Line spur, the part that comes in from Leechmere right into Union Square. Jennifer, I believe, was with Tori Antonio and an arborist from the T. Can you believe it? There are people who do that, who looked at the space and said, basically, you got an industrial site here, and how true that is. So excited to explore the possibilities. It's a pretty ugly and limited palette that we are working with, but that just makes it more exciting, right? About vines, small trees that are going to fit in a tiny, tiny space along either side for two reasons. One, mitigating, and two, beauty. Also excited to invite Somerville artists to be a part of this project. And you have just heard about as far as we've gotten. It's a unanimous vote, and there's just everything to do. But as wonderful tree, environmental, hardworking people, I just really wanted you to know.
Well, that sounds fantastic. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Thanks. Hi, Patricia. Thanks so much for being here. I'm really glad to hear this. It was me. Tori and I went and we met with you and a gentleman from the GLX whose name I don't recall. And my recollection of that meeting was that he was going to, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I thought he was going to maybe draft, he had some ideas of things. I know that there were some issues with distance from the tracks and slopes and various things that need to be taken into consideration when planting along that area. And I recall he was going to maybe do a little something and get back to us, and we were going to reconnect on that. But you know, if my memory doesn't serve me on that, please correct me.
Yeah, the good news is you're correct. The bad news is that I contacted him immediately after the council voted, and he's missing in action at the moment. So
okay,
TBD, yeah.
Okay, all right, great. But thanks so much for being here and letting us know this. This has kind of been on our radar for some time now, and so we're really grateful for your advocacy. Thanks.
Well, I'm grateful for all the work you all are doing. Thank you. So thanks. Maybe I'll just check out now.
All right. And just before you go,
sure.
At the Arbor Day celebration that we had a couple weeks ago in the rain, the drenching rain, which was great. Mike Connolly, who is a state representative, was there, and he was expressing a strong interest in seeing some of the gravel spaces by the new community path extension. also greened and potentially treed, where there's a lot of, as you say, just sort of industrial looking stretches. So I think everybody is sort of having the same idea all at the same time, that like, yeah, they left us with gravel and we should make it beautiful and functional. So I'm really glad to hear that that's
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, and Ryan.
Hi, I just wanted to, there is interest in gardening at Cobble Hill. And the ownership and who is going to be controlling the green space is still unclear. But there is growing interest, and we're increasingly encountering tenants who want to be able to do some form of gardening. And I know there are applications to be made. It would be extremely helpful to know what the full process is, so that tenants who are interested can understand how to go about doing this. We might end up negotiating with Cobble Hill management. We might end up negotiating with the city. It's not clear. But the city's process as a starter would be very helpful to understand, to let us garden there.
So the question is there a process by which the city creates community garden space? And if so, what is it? And if not, who would be the person who might be able to create a process or give an approval?
You got
Vanessa,
it.
Do
Yep.
you have any idea?
We haven't created a new community garden since I've been here, except the expansion of 5 Palmer. Well, that's the property, the expansion of the Glen Street Community Garden, because the property became available. So I don't think there is a process to create a new one at a new site. The community garden program is run from the Conservation Commission from the city of Somerville. They sort of started it and have been running it. They do have community garden meetings, I think about once a month, that are open to the public. I don't know which day they are, but you can contact Malik Drayton, who's the conservation agent for the commission. I'll put his contact in the chat. I do believe that when you mentioned this a few months ago, I suggested that you reach out to Capital Projects, and I know you did contact some folks over there. So,
Yeah.
you know, that project, although it is on hold, there, you know, is something that's going to happen there. So I'm not sure how likely it is to create a community garden there forever at this point, but
That's, yes, we were hoping for a temporary one this summer, and that was definitely shut down. And the reading that I got was that the city had never been informed of any interest whatsoever, so that it wasn't in the program. But that doesn't mean, I mean, none of the tenants at Cobble Hill knew what was going on. So, and the management is not particularly open to gardening because it takes real concerted effort and self-management on the part of the people who garden. And so it's a whole skill set that Cobble Hill management, Corcoran Jennison, would not be in a position to help with. But we've been contacting a lot of people who help with gardening. So we're beginning to get a sense of the possibility, and there is great interest. So we want to keep going on the topic, even though it's not being encouraged either by the city or by Corcoran Jennison.
Okay. And is there any appetite for you or the other folks who are interested in gardening to just apply for an existing community garden plot in another
I
location?
did that when I moved to Somerville,
Okay.
and I'm apparently still on a waiting list somewhere.
I don't know how long ago that was, but a lot of the gardens.
14 years.
I bet you're probably not on a list anymore. I don't know what happened, but most gardens, from current research, people are able to get a spot within 3 years or so. So unless you applied for Bikeway, which takes forever, probably your name fell off the list at some point.
Okay. Yep.
There's also, you can look at the community garden website on the City of Somerville. There should be some information there about how they're run and like how to keep up with.
That is part of our problem in that we have language barriers and we have a lot of people who want to garden but don't use computers. So that's part of what we're negotiating among ourselves and as we go forward.
I see.
And what about like container gardening as sort of a temporary?
Yes, that was what we were hoping to do this summer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You weren't allowed to do that, not even
No.
containers?
No.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, we had talked at some point about a program of mobile container gardens. And I don't know, mobile can mean basically relocatable.
Yeah.
Right.
Where we've got these spaces that sit idle for years at a time. And I could imagine something. I don't have the expertise to understand all the constraints, but some way of deploying containers into those spaces during those gap years.
Yeah. That also might relate to Union Square in some way, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And the Green Line, I meant.
So Vanessa, as kind of a process check, is this, I know the Conservation Commission does the community gardens as a piece of its conversation. Would we be on their toes if we started a mobile garden conversation? Do you think we'd be out of bounds in this committee? Could we count them as understory?
I really don't know. Probably not, but it would be worth going to one of the community garden meetings and mentioning it to make sure. I don't attend those, so I don't really know what they consider their, space exactly.
So I will sign up because I love meetings to find out when the next of those is and go to it. And I'll come back here. And if they want, I think the conversation should happen. I think it's a useful thing. If they want to have it on their agenda, then it's directly right down the middle of what they do. And if they say, no, we just don't have the time, then we'll put it on our agenda.
Yeah.
I'll pipe in at the end here and say I think this is a really great conversation starter and a really great idea. And it seems like, a big barrier might be funding for the, containers themselves and the soil. Soil costs a lot and might be preventative. And so it seems like an awesome opportunity to, seek out some sort of collaboration or grant opportunity even to get the infrastructure that seems like it could be run, through the community garden program as a mobile community garden plot, where maybe the city owns the buckets and the infrastructure, if you will, and then it could be strategically located in different areas as open space opens up. So I think it sounds like a really interesting idea. So thanks for offering to attend, Chris, and I think seeing what's possible within their capacity organizationally, but yeah, as someone who's also on the community garden wait list, it's a long process. And when you want to just grow one tomato plant this summer, it would be great to have a space that didn't get out of control with enthusiasm or enthusiastic residents, but was able to harness that and provide space for more people. So I think that's a great idea. And if it's something, you know, might not be within our wheelhouse to be the coordinators, but it seems like the community garden folks are creating a new group. So hopefully this can move forward. Thanks for bringing it up.
Right. So moving on, other resident concerns, anything else that people want to bring to this space? All right, let's move on to updates from the city then. I see we have updates on brick bottom trees.
I'm sorry, I muted myself. I didn't know if, as a member of the committee, I'm allowed to ask questions as a resident too?
Yes, absolutely. And you can also say whatever's on your mind. It's a complete freeform thing.
Okay, well, so yeah, well, most of these are because now I'm on the committee and then people are like, oh, can you tell me this? So one is there's a proposed development near me and there's a row of trees at the back of the property. And the assumption is that they'll all be torn down for this particular development. And I just wondered at what point in the process, if any, the neighbors in our community are able, and how do they get involved in either asking for them to replant trees, or they, you know, or do they just take them down, or yeah, what is that process?
I could speak to that. It depends a little bit what size the trees are. So private trees have to go through a permit process to remove trees that are significant. So those are trees that are 8 inches in diameter or greater. Unless they're tree of heaven of any size, those can be removed at any time. Well, we usually like to know about it, but you don't need a permit. Or other invasive species that are up to 24 inches diameter can be removed without a permit. There are also exemptions for dead or dying or hazardous trees, but in general, if these are nice, healthy trees that are not invasive species and they're 8 inches diameter or greater, the city has to issue a permit for those trees to be removed. There's no real notification of abutters in the permit process, but as part of the permit, a developer would need to have a plan to replace the number of inches that they're cutting down. So if they're cutting down one 8-inch tree, they need to plant 8 caliper inches of tree, be that, you know, 4 2-inch caliper or 2 4-inch caliper, whatever combination they decide, back on the property or on a neighboring property. And if they are not going to be replanting, then they need to pay into our tree fund at a specific rate per caliper inch, and they can do a combination of those factors. So I can look up the specific property and see if they've started the process or if it's too early, but all the planners and all the staff who review projects know about this process. So developers are always told that they need to follow the rules. Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. That's helpful. And I think I've heard this before, but now it's, you know, getting in my head. Yeah. The other question was if there are other urban forestry committees in Massachusetts, or who would know that? Just because I'm part of a group that's working on implementing this Massachusetts Healthy Soil Action Plan, and a big part of it has to do with impervious services and another part has to do with forests. And so it came up that there might be urban forestry committees, and I said, oh, I'm on one, but nobody had any idea if there's others.
There definitely are others. I don't know of like a one-stop shop where you can find out which communities have them. Chris, do you know anything, or does anyone else know like how to find out which ones have it?
There's like a collection of mailing lists and clubs that kind of loosely connects us. Like, and some cities have advocacy groups that serve in an almost urban forestry committee like role. Like the Boston Urban Forest Friends is really very, very active. But yeah, I'm not sure about, I do know there's a tree warden association, isn't there, Breck? Do you think, and tree wardens usually know about their forestry committees. Is that something you could put up the chain?
If there's any kind of centralized communication between the tree wardens, maybe there is, but I'm not a part of it. So I'm sure each individual tree warden is aware of the urban forestry committees within their jurisdictions, but I'm not sure that that kind of information really exists out there, honestly.
I just wanted a general sense of things, so that's good enough for now. Yeah, and those are my 2 questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for asking. Are we good for brick bottom?
Yeah, so I can take that one. So we, I guess to preface this, we got a tip a couple months ago, I guess, that there had been some branch damage on a row of maple trees along that property on Chestnut Street. So I went down there. There were, a fair number of damaged branches, nothing that was really irreparable, but sloppy driving on the part of the operator, the machinery down there. So we did issue a fine for each of the trees. It was 5 different trees. Per Mass General Law, we were able to issue fines for $500 per tree, which they very quickly paid out. They also were pretty proactive about hiring an arborist to come in and clean up the damaged branches. And they also installed tree protection, which is pretty decent as far as tree protection goes. We did hear a concern from a resident again last week, I guess, that one of the lifts that they're using to install the windows, I think, had sort of been backing into the trees. So I went down there and I took another look the other day. I did not see any significant damage. Really, the trees look pretty good. I think in that case, the tree protection did its job. So, basically they're on notice that they're accountable for whatever happens to those trees. They have been pretty responsive and pretty proactive about protecting them to the extent that they can. I think, as that project wraps up, I'll go down and look at those trees again. And, if there's anything that needs to be dealt with, then, we'll deal with it accordingly. But, I think the concern that came in most recently really, obviously we don't want their machinery in contact with the trees, but I do think in that particular case, the tree protection pretty effectively did its job.
All right, that sounds, go ahead, Leah Grisman.
Not a direct, just reminded me that as I was tagging trees for Adopt a Tree, I saw a couple within Spring Hill within the sewer separation project. Are young trees that didn't have tree protection yet and had lots of equipment leaning up on them and large stuff on the root balls. And I was going to email a photo to somebody. Should I send it to Trees at Somerville or?
Yeah, please.
Yes. Okay, great. Yeah, I know they've done a really good job with all the big trees, but it was our young trees, and not sure if they were in the plans yet or whatnot. But yeah, I'll send those around. Thanks.
And just as an aside, who gets the emails for Trees at Somerville?
Me, Breck, and Malik.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'll just say my experience has been, and I've reported a few of these, that the city's really good about going down and checking out on damage and then putting the squeeze on developers and getting a few bucks and potentially a replacement tree. We had one right up at the corner of my street here. So yeah, I think the only thing we could maybe do better would be to push on developers to have tree protection in their planning. And it's already there, it's just not as common a practice as we would like, and there's wildly variable practice from the old 2x4s taped on up. But, all right, thank you for that. Any further questions on brick bottom? Cool. Good job, Brack. Go get them. Next up is city tree removals.
That's also me. So I just sent out a list about an hour ago of the next round of removals. As I mentioned, we also did another 9 today that I just need to, assemble the description of the reason for the removal for that one, but I'll send that out tomorrow. I think we are finally kind of getting to the point where we should be more or less done with these large rounds of removals. The ones that we're doing right now, we're sort of getting into the dead, smaller diameter, not so hazardous stuff, but cosmetically not so great, or trees that are not really providing a lot of benefits and could be replanted. So I think I'm getting into the non-essential stuff, and I don't expect to have any more of the sort of massive removal lists that we've been doing for the last year or so.
Very cool. Super selfishly, are the dead young ones on Beacon on your list?
Those might still be under warranty. I guess not.
There's 2 near you that I'm replacing this spring. I just got an email about a whole block that has not looking good trees. I'm replacing a handful on Beacon that I saw, but I still have some more to check for fall. Small trees are in my purview, bigger trees are brick.
There's a block down at the Cambridge end. There's a block by sort of the Walgreens in the middle of the street. And then there's a few more. I'll send a list. This is my walk.
Okay.
All right. And then onward to private tree removals, which I can bring up the spreadsheet if it's been updated.
I have not looked at it, but I don't think so. You can pull it up. Yeah, Malik's on vacation, so I'm not sure he got a chance to update it before he left.
All right, I do see one here for an exemption at 22 Berkeley.
That was the one I added.
Okay. So an elder between 2 structures causing property damage to the foundations. That's a great example of one that we just grant an exemption to, because it'd be unreasonable to make people pay. And then permit applications. Got a couple more down at Hancock and Hudson. We actually, while we're here, we had a situation down near Union Square this week where there was a permit that was apparently applied for in 2020 and it was never issued, and like it was June 2020 was the application, so there was stuff going on. Oh, go ahead.
I had an update after that initial conversation. It was never actually a completed application because they never submitted information about replanting, so that's why it was never issued. It wasn't just a administrative error.
Nope. And this was one where, because it's in my neighborhood, I went down, and the thing that disturbed me was that the owner had literally dispatched a sort of a foreman who had found 2 laborers and a rental truck and some ropes and chainsaws, and it was a 28-inch honey locust. And so these guys were just kind of shinnying up and dropping big chunks of tree between houses and carrying them out to the truck. I'm wondering, I found myself wondering if there's any regulations around what you have to have in terms of insurance and equipment for a tree of that size, or if that was just a bad idea.
I can't think of any actual regulations. I'm sorry for jumping in there. I think I was thinking of a different complication. I'm not sure. Like there are street and sidewalk occupancy permits that the city requires you to get if you're going to be on city property. I'm not sure about if you're required to have certain certifications to remove a tree. Definitely a bad idea.
Yeah, it just looked like a bad idea, and I found myself thinking, shouldn't this be a licensed professional job?
Yeah.
All right, but apparently you can just go forth with a chainsaw. That's
mean, I think it's at the risk of whoever hires them. Like if you hire somebody who doesn't have proper insurance and they drop a tree on your house, then you're in trouble. But it's, it is a risk that some people take.
Yeah. All right. So lacking any further updates on that, let us go to spring tree planting. I'll switch back to the agenda here.
Okay, so spring tree planting, we're wrapping up. 185 trees are going in total. There's a couple more days of planting. All the sites have been prepped. I just sent the full list to be updated on the website, so that should be updated shortly if anyone wants to peruse where things are going and what they are. I did send out the species list to everyone since our last meeting, so you should have that. It's going well. We're doing great. And then I'm getting some warranty replacements from last year going in hopefully next week. There's been a lot of delays from that contractor. But the goal.
I will say that I ran into somebody up by Davis who didn't know how to read the paint on the sidewalk, and she was concerned about the trees by Winter Hill Bank that had been taken out. And I was able to say, no, look, that rectangle painted on with the T in the middle, that's going to be a saw cut and it's going to be a tree. And then I got excited emails when the saw cuts went on. So people are enthused about the tree planting.
Excellent. Yeah. Good.
I was curious, Vanessa, there's a bunch of new trees over on the Elm Street side of Porter Square of the Star Market. And obviously they're trampled on, there's no mulch, like, whatever. Because there's people, it's a heavy sidewalk, a lot of traffic, foot traffic. And I didn't know, is it a policy that like you don't use those covered grate things that kind of help protect the roots and stuff, or those types of areas?
Yeah, I pretty much never use grates just because they're really hard to get off and they tend to end up girdling trees if they aren't removed in time. I will use grates where they're already installed. I'll put a new tree in, but I have never actually officially installed one myself. Those might be good spots for FlexiPave. We've been using FlexiPave on some of our streetscape projects in the last few years. So some good examples are on Medford Street, and we're going to be using it on Pearl Street too, where there's full swath of street that's getting new sidewalks. So around the larger trees, we're putting FlexiPave back of sidewalk, and in cases where there's accessibility issues, also putting it all the way up to the trunk. And we're getting some capacity in-house to be able to do it for one-off situations too. So I'd rather use a FlexiPave material that the trees can self-expand their own well, but it creates some good walking surface and it's permeable so the water can get through, similar to the grates. So I'm gonna put that on my FlexiPave list.
Thanks.
Anything else about planting? All right, onward to the SPAP updates. That's Somerville Pollinator Action Plan Advisory Committee.
Thanks. So this is our new standing agenda item. We're meeting every 2 weeks pretty much, and right now we're working on detailing the scope of work for the request for proposals that will go up to hire a consultant to write the actual pollinator action plan. So we've been dividing up into smaller groups to discuss different portions of the scope of work, and we're hammering out sort of what as a group we'd like to see and how we want this plan to focus, and trying to figure out which questions and ways of thinking we want the consultant to consider how to make progress on this plan. So anything to add, Breck or Amy?
That's a good summary. The only thing that occurs to me is that the idea of container plantings came up there too as another way of adding extra pollinator space too. So I don't know if there's some synergy there between the idea of container plantings to make garden space and container plantings for pollinator space. But yeah, otherwise, good summary, Vanessa, of what we're actually doing at the moment.
In further synergy, something that I learned because I've applied at the Durrell Community Garden is that there is a local person who, if you ask them, will bring a beehive and put that beehive in your space. And so in the back corner of Durrell, we asked all the gardeners and nobody is allergic and everybody was cool with it. And so we've got a cute little 3-foot tall beehive in the back and the pollinators are busily pollinating. So that is totally a thing that can happen in this city.
That's cool.
I was like, of course we have a bee guy. All right, so next up is urban forestry related job postings. And I thought that I heard exciting news on this front, Rick.
Yeah, the tree crew positions have been posted after, I don't know, 3 years of anticipation, I think. So they're up on the city website. I know I saw them on LinkedIn. So they're out there. We probably need to get them onto the tree wardens board in a couple other spots, but they are official and they are posted.
All right, that is fantastic news, actually. That's been a long journey and that's going to very much empower your organization. I am skimming other jobs now. Do we know about any others that might be of interest to the committee?
I know the not job, but the RFP was posted for 217 Somerville Ave on the city website.
Which one is that?
And that's the open space on Somerville Ave across the street from Target. I know we had discussed this way back about enthusiasm for being a Milwaukee Forest there. So it's a call for proposals for
Design.
design teams to submit. And I saw the proposal had a good amount of community engagement in it, so that's also exciting.
That's out. They're tree surgeons, according to the site.
I saw that too. I love that it's a tree surgeon.
All right.
Yeah, I'm
But
not
the
sure.
union named them. When the union started, that's what they called them, I guess.
All right.
Hopefully they're making surgeon salary.
Yeah, unfortunately not.
Right. Just cruising through. There's not usually much. There's an environmental policy manager. That could be interesting. And then all kinds of Parks and Rec program specialists. So it seems like there's actually a bunch of jobs on the city website that our communities might be interested in. All right. Moving back to the agenda, we come to the part that I am perhaps most excited about. We talked last week about the fact that it's time for me to rotate off as a co-chair. And I think what we did, and we didn't get a lot of enthusiasm for writing bylaws before doing this. I don't feel like it's necessary. Nobody else really wanted to step up. And I suggested that if I wasn't the co-chair, then I might have time to actually engage with that sort of thing. So my question to this group, what we did last time was people offered themselves or nominated each other. And there was people talked about what they wanted to do. And then we had a vote and we had a new co-chair, and that's how we got Tori on. I would be totally comfortable doing that process again. My only concern is we're a little shy on people. So I would also be comfortable waiting until we have a meeting where we have more of the committee here. Happy to go either way. This would be a great time if somebody is interested in being a co-chair to say, I am interested in being a co-chair. Or if you think one of your colleagues would be great, to say that too.
I'll say it seems like the summer is probably not going to be our highest attendee rate due to folks' travel schedules. So item 1, are you okay with staying on for probably until September or when folks settle down a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, there's no real pressure here except that I do want to actually do this. I don't want to let another year elapse and just not. But if folks think the fall would be better and having everybody here would be more appropriate, I'm totally comfortable with that.
Just for
I
the
guess I
record,
can say
we're missing Tori, who's already a chair, so she can't be 2 co-chairs. That would just be a chair. And Kala and Murphy. So we do have a pretty good amount of folks here.
And does it have to be co-chairs, or could Tori chair by herself if she was interested? Or
the reason we went with co-chairs was so that we could do the alternating thing, and you serve for 2 years, and so there's always somebody rolling on and somebody rolling off.
okay.
But there are literally no rules about this because we don't have bylaws. We can kind of do whatever we want and what we think we can get away with. I like very much the co-chair thing because it makes it possible for, if one of us has an issue that is really that we're really engaged with, it is more comfortable to let the other person run that portion of the meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
So we could have the conversation now. I'm not hearing anybody jump forward and say me.
I'd say I'm open to it and was going to offer, yeah, I'd love to sort of chat more about what is actually involved.
Okay.
But yeah, if there's no others, I'm okay to step up.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we have a volunteer. So I'm feeling like I may have surprised people with this. Would somebody
we
like
to talk about it last time? But
so happy to go ahead.
You want to summarize maybe so everyone has, I think you talked about
Sure.
it a little bit last time, but what does it mean to be a chair for this committee or a co-chair?
Sure. So prior to each meeting, Vanessa sends out a summary of what she thinks would be a great agenda. And the co-chairs look at it and occasionally add things. Sometimes, very rarely, we say, wow, that's too many things for one meeting, and decide which of them to push back. Vanessa winds up doing all of the administrative work to prepare the agendas and so on. It really is that there's a very small group of us, 3 of us, who talk about what the agendas are and try to make them into a coherent plan. And then there's a bit of, there's not honestly a lot of pre-work, but there's a bit of pre-work to make sure that people who are going to be presenting are prepared, that if there are things that would really benefit from a quick sidebar ahead of time, going ahead and sending that email so that people are not surprised in meetings. And that's honestly about it. And then it's walking through the agenda like I am now and trying to be respectful and balance having good conversation against getting people out of here in 2 hours. I will say there is no quasi-judicial power whatsoever on the committee. So you will never be in the position of having to like rule on something that affects people's lives. We deliberately left all of that with the city staff and the mayor.
And one other bonus of being a chair is you never have to write meeting minutes.
Indeed.
that might be the selling point.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good pitch.
So I would entertain, let me just suggest this. I would entertain a motion to consider Leah Grossman as a co-chair. If somebody else is willing to make that motion, then we could vote on it and we could just cruise ahead.
I think that Leah would make a wonderful co-chair, and I would like to make a motion to make Leah our co-chair.
I will second that motion.
I second, me too. I started.
I'll say aye.
Excellent. I feel the hook being set here. Any discussion on the motion before we approve it unanimously? Cool. So let's do a roll. Go ahead.
Leah being chair.
Hmm?
Leah, do you have any reservations about being chair?
I don't think so. I think the only potential situation could be that both Tori and I are in the design world, and if there was ever a moment where we both couldn't speak on a matter, I don't know. That seems quite unlikely. No, I don't think I have any reservations. I think I've learned a lot from Chris's leadership style on the meetings, and so hope to follow that track. But I love the changes that we've made in terms of opening up the meetings and making them as inclusive as possible, and running meetings that are efficient and organized. So, yeah.
All right. Let us then do a roll call and make it official. So on making Leah Grossman a co-chair of this committee, Amy Myrtle,
Yes.
Breck Miller.
Yes.
I say yes. Dorothy Suput,
Yes.
Jennifer Clifford,
Yes.
Leah, last chance.
I'm in.
All right, Vanessa Bukili.
Absolutely.
All right, congratulations.
Congratulations,
you.
Leah.
And I
And
will
Chris,
just
you're off the hook.
I will just say thank you. This has been an incredible learning experience. We made a committee, we figured out how to run it, and I am totally confident that it's going to keep going in a good direction. So thanks, everybody.
Well, and thank you, Chris, for your leadership during this. You really provided a lot of great insight. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, I echo that. You've been an excellent co-chair, and yeah, definitely help lead the direction of the committee and really keep our meetings on track, make sure everyone has a chance to be heard, but also that we get through our agenda. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
And excited it will open up more time for you to focus on other projects that you might be more interested in. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can already feel the energy freeing up. It's pretty cool.
Speaking
right.
of that, can I just make a comment on the bylaws?
Yeah.
We did discuss that last time, and I had actually expressed some interest in that because, but it got a little confused, I think, because we were kind of simultaneously doing some of the tree species list at the same time. So I could see where you might not recall that. But I wondered if it wasn't a bad idea to have very general guidelines to provide some consistency, especially as we hand over leadership and memberships. And I've thought about it a little bit, and I've kind of got a few talking points that I'm happy to share. I thought we had decided we would maybe create a working group. And if there's anybody else interested in pursuing that, I mean, maybe we'll end up that we decide we don't need anything like that. But it might be worth having this discussion as a working group and thinking about whether or not it would be beneficial for us.
Yeah, I like it. Let's make a working group and see if we can come up with enough to either be bylaws or just a document that says, hey, here is how we have done it in the past.
Yeah, just some guidelines. I noticed them more and more, even in a very informal way. And I think maybe it does help in a public facing way, but also maybe internally as well.
All right, I'm in.
So anyone else interested in that conversation? Okay, well, if you change your mind, let me know, but I'll write up a few points, Chris, and send them your way.
Cool, just like a Google Doc?
Yes, yeah.
Perfect, perfect.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's talk about the Adopt a Tree program.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I've got a couple things about that. Okay, first thing is, I couldn't remember the number. We have 50 trees adopted so far. Almost all the wards are tagged. We're still looking at Ward 7. if somebody wants to split that responsibility with me, let me know and we can go out there and either split them up. It's about 60 trees. So we can either split the responsibility or do it together or something. But that will be the final one that needs to get done. The number of untagged trees, we actually had somebody write in and adopt an older tree that's in their area. So they're going to adopt an older tree. And I guess, Amy, I was wondering, we do have several numbers for the WhatsApp, but I'm not sure what to do with those. Should I be creating something to send to you?
No, I just have to put them in a group. I
Okay.
haven't done it, but I will.
Okay, but if there's a better way to receive them, let me know and I can,
No, I can go on this.
find like copy and paste them out of that document because the document is getting really big. Okay, but there are some numbers in there for that.
Yeah, I still have to do it. This is
Okay.
the map that just of the trees that have been adopted so far, if anyone's curious to see. I just put it in the, I only said it shared it to the organizer. Sorry, let me do that again.
Oh, I had a question about that too. Does that get updated automatically or does that have to be?
No, I have to go in and do it.
Okay.
So I think I did it last week. So there's probably more that need to be added, but you can see what we have so far. And I put that, I've been adding the names that when people give names, the names are on there too. Just
Yeah, I see this is the one that Chris has, right? This is you, right, Chris?
This is not me. This is at Washington and Beacon. And this just showed up and I think it's
But it's your picture, right? Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
So some of the names are great. So my favorite so far is Notorious RB Tree.
Oh yeah, I saw that one.
So I just some of them are quite clever, really clever. So I
have a question about that. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Vanessa. I have a couple questions for you too about this.
Oh, okay. I started tagging some of the ones I'm checking from this spring's planting. Amy, do you need a list of all the trees I'm tagging to, like, I'm not sure if you need that or it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, if you send me those, I could add them in as the not adopted ones, so that if people, I don't really know if people are using this map or not to find trees. They're probably not, but like if people adopt them, then I'll automatically add them because then they'll show up on the spreadsheet. But if yeah, you could send them and then I could add them as not adopted if someone were to use it to try to find a tree to adopt. But I don't know if anyone's actually using it that way. Okay. I don't think it actually goes out to people until after they've adopted one, so probably not.
Yeah, although sometimes people write and ask if they see it somewhere, but we could send them that map and show the locations of where trees are available to adopt. So yeah, it'll be a good tool for that. A couple of things, Vanessa, the Adopt a Tree page that we have is not linked through the Urban Forestry Committee website.
Oh.
It's its own, so if somehow the webmaster can make a link from our page to that would be great.
Okay. Yep, maybe that's what you had mentioned. I made sure there was a link to the Urban Forestry page on the Adopt a Tree page, but maybe you wanted the other way.
Well, I mean, both ways would be ideal.
Makes sense, sure.
And maybe we need to I know we're a little bit behind on getting promotional blurbs out to places, but we can maybe work on that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, is there any specific places you'd like to go
out? I'd have to look at the list again, but I think we decided on Resi, the new and improved Resi Stat newsletter, city councilors, Sustainaville, and there might have been a couple of others that I can't think of right now, but
there's like the economic development people.
For the business flyers, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And you made that, we have like, it's just a copy paste thing, right? You have the document.
Yeah, the document is in the folder, but yeah, we can just use that.
Okay, I can do some of that tomorrow.
Okay. And that's it. That's all that there is for Adopt a Tree. Thanks everyone for helping out with that.
I just wanted to say really briefly, it's been really fun seeing some trees already adopted before I start to tag them. They already have like little, fences around them, or they're already planted. And I've been writing little notes on the tags and putting it in mailbox, just being like, thanks for adopting, thanks for caring for this tree, sign
That's
up
nice.
for reminders. And had one person I put the tag on and they was like, I thought I already adopted this tree. Like I'm doing all I can to take care of it. So I think it's a good, it's a great educational initiative. So, and I have to admit, I still have to finish Ward 2, but I'm going to do it this weekend. So hopefully we'll get more in that area soon.
Very cool.
Great.
All right, then we have outreach.
Sorry, quick note. There are a bunch of trees from last year that are dead, so you don't have to tag a dead tree.
Yeah.
We can cycle back on those when I check them, but it looks sad when you put a tag on a dead tree.
Oh yeah, I also wanted to ask about that. I abstained from tagging a couple that were dead, but I was wondering, I think some of them I noted like, get in touch with the city to help pick a new tree for this plot, to still use it as a, no, they'll just get a
I
new.
just use the same species,
Okay,
but
sweet.
like they can tell me I need a new one, but
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, it's the same species I already picked.
Okay. Sweet.
Oh, okay. So I have a question about that then. I don't know if other people found the same thing. I felt like I was seeing more dead trees this year than I have in years past. I don't know if others have had the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
And they were primarily black gum. So they all seem to be the same species too. So
Yeah, I noticed that too. I have noticed a bunch of those. I think we planted a good number of black gums in the fall, and I don't know the ones you saw if they were the fall plantings. They can be fall dig hazards, so now we see why they probably shouldn't be planted in the fall. I think that's part of it. There's also, they didn't do any replacements in the fall from the spring, so we're seeing a lot of dead ones that have been dead since transplant shock time, so they haven't been replaced yet. Yeah, contractor problems. A lot of the oaks that we planted, the willow oaks and shingle oaks we planted in the spring also didn't do very well, and I don't know why. They're tough oaks, so I don't know if it was like a bad stock or what, but.
I will mention that I think that -9-degree night that we had in February, it was February, did some real significant damage. I have an apricot, my neighbors have a cherry, and neither of them has even one fruit this year. So I think anything vulnerable, and it got warm previously. I think it was just a rough late winter for the trees too. So, and the reason I bring it up is I wouldn't necessarily change all of our practices around what happened this year, unless this is the new climate reality, in which case go for it.
I don't know what we can do to protect against a random ridiculous cold.
Yeah.
The drought also, like drought in the summer, and then we had a crazy weird winter. So there's definitely a bunch of trees in the landscape that look terrible.
Yeah, that cold snap was really bad. We will have no commercial Massachusetts peaches this year. They've all dead because of that warm weather, as you said, Chris.
Yeah. It's really getting kind of stark. All right. Do we want to talk about outreach? I know we were out at Carnival. Is there other?
It's not really a whole lot going on now. We will have a couple more summer streets coming up, but that we need to apply for if we think we can do it. There will be one in September, one in October. Maybe just, if you can kind of file that away somewhere and think about whether or not you might be able to help out with that. I won't be here for the October one, but I could probably do September. But you know, if I could just, if between all of us in the outreach, if we could just gauge interest in whether or not we can support a table. It's a 4-hour stint, and that's not including setup and breakdown. So, you know, it turns out to be a long afternoon. So it's nice to have some rotation around that. But the carnivals are always so, you know, there's so much energy around those. You know, it can be really inspiring, tiring and inspiring all at the same time.
You have
But,
dates for the September and October ones?
somehow this, Vanessa, you might remember
just
somehow
put
the
in the chat.
17th.
I just put them in the chat.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
September 17th and October 22nd. The rain date of October 29th.
I saw in my calendar recently a hold for UFC farmers market tabling. I feel like we talked about that. Is there something on the books that I either missed or we have?
No, I was going to actually talk about that too. Crystal's not here this evening, but she and we had talked about trying to get a table there to share between UFC and Mamas, and then we're going to see if we could get some help for that. But they didn't have any spaces left.
Oh, okay.
And so there was some back and forth trying to find us another time, but none of the other dates are working out. They had one cancellation in late July that she can't do, or they can't do, and I can't do. It just sort of started to get to be a difficult, we weren't really able to coordinate that, but I do think that would be a space we'd like to get into at some point. And I think doing it with Crystal and with the Mamas group would be a really nice experience. So, so we don't have anything in place for that this summer.
All right. I stopped by the table and I think we've got a really impressive set of materials at this point. Did you get any interesting, any novel questions, any novel feedback from the folks who stopped by?
So from what I can remember, sometimes I don't remember everything because there's an awful lot going on, but we do get a lot of enthusiastic questions. Mostly we get a lot of very personal questions, or people want to talk about their trees, or they want to talk about the tree on the street, or I wouldn't say there's anything unique typically. And perhaps Amy and Dorothy, who are also there, might remember something. We do get a lot of interaction, but I don't remember there being any kind of unusual or unique sorts of things.
I remember right before I got there, you said you were talking with someone from Summer Viva about potentially doing some collaborative presentation in Spanish or Portuguese about trees.
Thank you. See,
that's
why I need you all around me. Yeah, and she was supposed to bring me the information and she didn't. So I don't know if I don't know if that group will reach out to us or not. But
I know Laura who works there. I could ask her.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
Follow up on that, if you like.
Thank you for reminding me about that, and it also reminds me of a second thing too. Yes, so Summer Viva, especially in the Spanish-speaking community, would like to have an opportunity to ask questions, tree questions. Some folks I think are interested in attending meetings or have questions, but don't, because language is a barrier. And so she wondered if perhaps there was potential for having a chance to get together.
I think so. If we're switching to Zoom, there is a simultaneous translation function where you can listen to the, it works in many ways, but it works. I've seen it used for community meetings in other situations, and it works very, very well. You have to choose, there's a little thing with the settings, but you can either hear them simultaneously, you can hear the translation.
Okay.
That does work.
We're switching to Google that would be a great opportunity for you to figure out if you have to, how you get that function.
Yeah, and Amy had several ideas too, and we just thought, I mean, it was really a conversation in passing, and we really just need to have this conversation with a person in Summer Viva who wants to organize it and see how we can best work together to help with this need.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I speak Spanish, so they can ask me questions and I can talk to them.
Okay.
I'm rusty, but was fluent 10 years ago. So,
okay. And so this could potentially be something that we could do with you, Vanessa, maybe have, maybe this is something we can work out to have these little spin-off sorts of question and answer sessions, public, perhaps.
absolutely. Yeah.
I could imagine, I don't know, there were people that were asking about volunteer opportunities, and I would assume that there's people, like I know several people that have done translation services, you know, as part of just their work, and they love trees, they live in Somerville, and I'm just made me think, well, wow, maybe that's also a volunteer opportunity for somebody, as long as we could, you know, it's a lot to try to answer questions and do the translation, Vanessa, so I think that's wonderful, but it's also, you know, exhausting and hard if you also have to be thinking about your answers.
Yeah, I guess it's more applicable sort of for one-off conversation. If people have specific questions and want to come directly to me, I can answer them. We do have the Somerville Office of Immigrant Affairs, the SOIA office, which I believe Summer Viva is part of, and sorry, I'm playing with my AirPods. Sometimes it steals my voice. We can like schedule meetings that have, you know, a translator and Zoom. We just have to notify them in advance or sort of work with them to schedule it, and then they can reach out to their communities too to, you know, say that it's an opportunity. So maybe, you know, once or twice a year we can have a meeting where someone from SOIA comes to translate what we're saying. That could be something to look into.
Okay.
Yeah, I would want to couple that with a little bit of a publicity push into those communities, because I always feel a little bit bad for those meetings where we do all the effort to get translation staff there and literally nobody uses them.
Yeah, and those, if we do it far enough in advance, they have like the translators and the SOIA office have communities, so they reach out directly too.
Yeah, there's a chicken and egg thing there where folks know that there's not going to be a translator, so they don't bother showing up.
Okay, yeah.
But it's true, it's a chicken and egg thing, but it's also something that if you offer it consistently over time, you can build participation. If you just do it once and be like, oh, nobody showed up, that's failure, like that's not necessarily true. It takes people knowing, you know, getting it into their schedules and all that, because the meeting is at a funky time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's true of all the outreach that we do too. It takes time to build that kind of communication and understanding and providing materials and information and education. So I think that's true of a lot of outreach. But that brings me to the second thing that I forgot. I spoke with Kat Powers from the Somerville Media Television, who I know from watching debates and things like that on Somerville TV. She offered to have us on a show for a 20-25 minute talk. We talked about her scouting troop, and I gave her some materials, and we talked about some things she could do with scouts and that sort of thing. Anyway, she invited us to be on Somerville Television to talk about Urban Forestry Committee and to talk about what we do. And that's a fair amount of time too. 20 minutes is a good chunk of time. So if there's any interest in that, we could probably put together, you know, get our couple of co-chairs, and Chris probably would be, I think, would be a good representative. And maybe we could get a little television time. I don't know what people think about that.
I'll say I love the idea. I've been to that studio and had them make pieces with me twice before. It's a great experience. They're super friendly. They're super nice. It's low key. You have a conversation. They edit it down so it's just the sensible parts, and then you've got something on YouTube, like which is amazing to be able to like in the conversation you can just say, "Can I take another run at that?" And they're like, "Sure," and they note the time. And then when they edit it, they just remove the part where you flailed, and you sound
So
like
they're
you did.
professionals.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
wind up coming across just like really put together and smart, even as you like flailed a couple times in the middle. I think it'd be great, and I honestly would love to have some collateral like that on the internet where
Yeah,
we can then
let's
point back
do
to
it
it
then.
and say, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, I'll reach out to her and we'll get something started with them. Yeah, okay.
And I would say the thing that I learned in the how to deal with the media training that I went through once is we should have an idea what the story we're telling is. We should
Yeah.
not make her guess.
That's right. Well, I think we'll have plenty of time we'll be able to have this communication with her and some discussion as what their expectations are, what we'd like to convey, how we want to do it, how we would want to break it down. Maybe, I'm sure we'll have something in hand prior to showing up at the studio, but okay, I'm going to do that.
You know, they actually have that educational mission where they send people out into the community to get video from, you know, on site. You could imagine us getting access to an intern with a camera and taking pictures of some of the stuff we've done. The test sites with the understory, the smaller trees, and the banner, and you know, a couple of our favorite spots. We could do something with that. That could be fun.
Yeah, and I'm just, my mind is going to youth engagement, you know, so getting these interns involved and getting that, you know, maybe a bit of a different cohort in our community to be involved with what it is that we do. Yeah, I love that.
Awesome, let's do it. All right, so then species selection and planting guide, I still have my flyer here. Do we have a PDF of this?
Yeah,
Is it
definitely.
Is it on the website somewhere?
I don't think it's on the website yet.
Okay, could you just email it to me at least? I want to share it with some people.
Definitely.
Awesome. Did that subcommittee continue meeting, or have you declared victory?
We have not had any meetings since since Arbor Day and our last meeting. So no other updates there, but I think getting it on the website would be awesome. And then I don't know if our website's been updated in a bit. I know the member list last time I saw needs to be updated.
Yeah, it needs some updating. Yeah.
I think the city webmaster is busy.
Probably has a lot to do.
There are a number of places where if you go, it's like, oh wow, that's wildly out of just and I get it. It's an impossible task, and I think there's still just like one person who's supposed to do that.
There's 2 people, and you know, we have to tell them what to do. So I can send updates. I'll definitely update the members and add the native species flyer. If you see other things, I'll start with that because I know those are easy changes. If you see other things, just tell me, and I'll if you like
linking,
rewrite it for me. That's then it'll get done faster. But if you just have suggestions, I'll put it on my list.
Were we saying linking to the adopt a tree as well?
Yeah. Thanks.
All right, we still have this kind of legacy thing for the use of pesticides at Maxwell's Green. I don't think anybody's actually doing anything with that.
That was Tori's job.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I have no updates on the tree preservation ordinance. Most wanted weeds. We still have that. That's, I guess, also on the webpage, except we would have to write our preferred most wanted weeds and tell them what to replace it with, right?
Yeah, Amy was
Yes,
working
you
on
have
that.
an actual update on that.
Oh,
Something. Um, so Kala offered to do a layout for it. Just needs the photos. So I made this little photo submission form, which I sent out to the other people who've been working on that. And I guess the question is kind of how widely to distribute this. Oh wait, this is the, oh yeah, sorry, this is the link to the flyer about it. We printed this flyer, which we had at the carnival. I don't know if anyone actually looked at it or not, but we did have it there.
Yeah, I actually gave that out.
Oh, did
Amy.
you? Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
some people were interested in weeds and invasives
Oh, okay.
and had questions
All right,
about
cool.
that. So.
Cool. Okay. So then it got out a little bit there, but
Mhm.
we have to do a little bit more to get it out more widely. You know, could post it in gardening groups and things like that. People who live nearby who might be interested in doing these kind of photos. Or if any of you have photos that you'd like to submit, Kala's going to work on the layout even before we have the photos, and we can also get stuff off iNaturalist. I know Jennifer said you have a bunch of iNaturalist stuff we could use, but yeah. So we have an attempt at least to make something that we can bring back to the committee at some point to potentially look at.
yeah, I think it'll be super useful. I know that as my neighbors turn over, as people move out and move in, folks are always curious. Oh, is that really black swallowwort? What is this mustard weed thing? Is this the thistle that we don't like? So it'll be good to have a resource.
Yeah, I imagine we'll get photos of black swallowwort and garlic mustard, but some of the other ones I don't know if we'll get or not, so we might have to do some more digging to get those, but we'll see.
Right. Then we already kind of talked about the GLX screening. I'm not aware of any further updates there.
Except the path is open
The
and
path is open.
it's super exciting biking down it, being like, oh my God, there's so many more potential planting areas along here. So
And
There's
if
a
you
lot of
haven't,
Japanese knotweed, Amy. I mean, it's just popping up in little right through the rocks and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it does great in those kind of areas.
Mhm.
For sure.
Yeah.
and if you have not been to Cambridge Crossing, which is where it dumps out, it's a beautiful development with this gorgeous park in the middle that the ducks and their ducklings have already found. It's great. Totally worth the trip if you hop on the path extension, go down to Cambridge Crossing, coffee shops, restaurants. They've managed to create like an oasis between two heavily traveled roads, and it's quiet in the middle. It's remarkable. All right, that brings us to.
Get a beer close by too, if you're interested.
Sorry.
Said you can get a beer close by as well, or coffee.
Yeah, I think it's Lamplighter has a new tap room down there. Okay, so we're to the approval of minutes from previous meetings. Has anybody not had a chance to look at the email that we got, relatively recently? I glanced through, I think they look solid. I didn't see anything wrong. All right, I'm going to suggest then that we approve both the April and the May minutes. And that we conclude our meeting here, and we'll do a big roll call on all three of those and call it a night. All right. So on approval of the minutes and adjourning, Amy Myrtle.
Approve.
Breck Miller.
Approve.
I approve. Dorothy Supit.
Approve.
Jennifer Clifford.
Approve.
Leah Grossman.
approve.
And Vanessa Bukili.
Approve.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Really efficient meeting. We did a lot of good stuff. And congratulations again, Leah.
Thank you.
Congrats, Leah. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.